And moving on to the last section of the show today, this is Franchise Spotlight, where we break down a franchise movie by movie. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been doing the Harry Potter franchise, and we are now at the finale, Ryan. All we have left to talk about is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, since this was your first time watching both of these films, I'm going to solely let you start and do your whole thing. Mm-hmm. I know that we disagree vastly on one of these movies.
Yeah.
But I want to hear your thoughts, and after you kind of do your whole thing, I'll do my whole thing, and then we'll collide.
Okay.
So go ahead. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
So, I'm going to say a very, very bold statement, but then I'm going to retract it.
What?
Hold on. Deathly Hallows Part 1 is incredibly boring. Very, very boring. However, I'm retracting that statement because I know it has to be boring for the major payoff that is in Deathly Hallows Part 2. My biggest problem with Deathly Hallows Part 1, go to point A to get the thing you need for point B. Go to point B to get the thing you need for point C. Go to point C for the thing you need for point D. It's all just go here for this, go there for that, go here for this. And it just feels like there's nothing there that really, captures me and excites me. It almost felt pointless in a way, but also at the same time not pointless because, like I said, it needs to set up for this major conflict that is going to happen in Deathly Hallows Part 2. Deathly Hallows Part 2 is what is going to set up everything that the franchise, or pay off everything that the franchise has set up. So I understand why Deathly Hallows Part 1 is made this way and constructed this way. And yes, there are very emotional character moments, and I do admit that, some of it is sad, some of it's happy. You're still rooting for the characters even though they're on the run. There's some thrilling aspects, there's suspense. I felt all of that, but overall I felt very detached from the movie. Because, like I said, you're just going here for this, going there for that. And I understand the reasons for it. The Horcruxes are very fascinating, that you need to collect all of them, destroy them before you destroy Voldemort. And it feels very video game-like. Like, you have to collect all these little pieces, destroy them, and then you can take on the final boss. And that's kind of how this journey has felt. If they didn't have that, if they were doing something else with this movie, it would excite me a little bit more. Like, if they had to go around and, yes, they were still gathering an army, but if this movie was just them going underground and hey, do you want to help us? And then there's a traitor there who tries to turn him in, and I know that kind of happens in the movie with one of the characters' dads. But if that was with the whole movie, it would excite me a little bit more. But again, just going to point A for the thing you need for point B, it just, I don't know, just boring overall. But do you want to give your thoughts on Part 1, and then I'll do Part 2, and then
go through to the end.
Okay.
Just know that in the words of Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, I disagree. But we'll
I
get
disagree.
There. Yeah, but we'll get there. Go ahead. All
right,
so
definitely
the big finale.
The big payoff. Wowee, was this a great movie. I'd say in my top 3 of this franchise. This movie is fantastic. The payoff is very exciting. Everything in this movie works except for one thing. The stupid epilogue 19 years later. Let's send him to the same school that we almost fucking died. Let's send him there.
Everyone who's watching this, who's watched and read Harry Potter, you just made them fucking throw their phones. But no, I want to hear it. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I haven't read the books. I'm illiterate, for those of you who know me. So
I was not ready for you to fucking say that. Just the way that casually rolled off the tongue. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I never read the books, so my only knowledge of the Harry Potter universe, the wizarding world, is from the movies. But this movie had tremendous payoff. It felt so good to see Harry Potter and Voldemort face off twice. One of the times, Harry Potter fucking eats it. Yep. And I did have a little bit of confusion on that, but you clarified that, which helped because he definitely died, but somehow came back to life. And I had a big problem with that until you explained it. But it felt nice to see big boy villain versus big boy hero finally face off versus this cat and mouse that's been happening throughout the whole franchise. And it was incredibly sad to see Hagrid like hold Harry and what we thought was
such
dead.
a heartbreaking
and
shot.
Every character in there thought that he was dead as well. And then Neville, our boy Neville, came through and destroyed the last Horcrux. It was nice to see him do something, because last time we saw him actually do something, he was standing up towards Ron and Harry and was like, "You're making Gryffindor look bad." And they were like, "Fuck you, Neville. Get out of her way, freaking nerd." So they finally gave something to do. But overall, I loved Deathly Hallows Part 2. And just remember, film is subjective.
I know.
Even though you're wrong, but it's fine.
No, I don't speak for most of like Potterheads when I say I adore Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Oh, wow, adore.
I love that movie. Love that movie. I think it is the most character-driven, one of the most emotionally resonant films in the entire franchise. And it's a film that slowed down right at the right time, right before it was going to hit its peak finale, to just remind you why you started this journey, to remind you these are the people, these are the characters that you fell in love with, and this is them at their lowest point possible. It reignited your passion to see these heroes complete their mission. And without Deathly Hallows Part 1 as its own movie, you don't get that reignited feeling, and you don't feel that full sense of closure, in my opinion. I also think the film does an excellent job with its use of suspense. There are so many scary and suspenseful scenes in this movie, not only with action, but just with cinematography and storytelling. The sequence with the snake around the halfway point of the movie, when they're going after Ron and Hermione and Harry, the main character, couldn't fucking remember his name. But that sequence is very suspenseful, very scary. The sequence when the Death Eaters are all having dinner with Voldemort, and you don't really know what's going to happen, is very, very suspenseful. You have beautiful character moments like Harry and Hermione dancing. I thought that was such a beautiful moment, and the heartbreaking looks on their faces after they have that one moment of happiness, and then they realize the shitty world that they're still in, and then it was all felt like it was for nothing. Then you have that weird-ass nightmare where Ron sees naked Harry and Hermione make out for no reason, which just scared me. But you get these characters really kind of fully grasping where they're at for the last time. And leading into the finale of Part 2, I thought it was the perfect move to make by Warner Brothers to split this movie in half, so to be able to properly tell from an emotional standpoint the conclusion of the story. And I think others copied it and split their movies in half, but for like cash grab reasons. Like Mockingjay didn't need to be 2 fucking movies on Hunger Games side. But I really enjoyed the film, and I know that I'm in the minority of like the movie fans. I love Deathly Hallows Part 1. I do think Part 2 is better, and I do love Deathly Hallows Part 2. I think that it does have emotional moments mixed in as well with all the action, but it's kind of one giant action sequence, and but it works and it flows so well. And I think that each character kind of gets their moment to shine, kind of gets their knight in shining armor moment. I think that the actual final battle with Harry and Voldemort was built up and perfectly executed, although I didn't like how he kind of confettied away. I wanted him to fucking die. God,
that's what it looked like.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like. But yeah, no, but I and even like where all the characters ended up, I like the fucking epilogue. Okay, it seals the end of the story and shows them at the end of their journeys. You fucking guy.
I will say that part literally knocked down a whole star.
Really?
That's how much I fucking hated that.
Wow, why did it bother you so much? Let me get it from you.
It's just like, just end it with them standing on the bridge. You know, like they won. Leave it ambiguous like that. We don't need
but it's the end of the story, and it's showing you where they ended up.
Yeah, but we know that Harry ends up with Ron's sister. We know Hermione and Ron end up together. We know all this. It's just more so, like, I get it. It's more so for the fans who grew up with these movies and watched these movies. So of course, if I would have grown up watching every single one of these movies in theaters, I probably would have cried in that moment. And I know that that's the emotional impact that they were going for, but just kind of
All right.
watching them all the
right.
way through, it's like,
Let me throw a counterpoint at you.
okay.
Imagine the very original Star Wars ending without the throne room sequence. Because we know that they won and blew up the Death Star. We know that they're going to get praise.
Before the throne room, what's the last scene?
Them blowing up the Death Star, and then they go back and celebrate, and they're all like freaking out at the hangar, and they send off R2 to get fixed, and then it's Han, Luke, and Leia all walking towards the camera as it fades away.
Oh, movie still works.
No, man, you don't get the throne room. You don't get the freaking song. You don't get freaking Chewie getting screwed out of a medal. You don't get so much in those final moments.
But does the movie still work without that scene?
Sure, but it improved it, and I think that
You think the epilogue improved Harry Potter?
I do. I think if you would have ended them on the bridge, it would have felt awkward as shit. It would have felt really weird.
It probably would have felt awkward, but I still think the movie is all the same.
No.
No? Interesting.
No.
That epilogue literally knocked down a whole star.
No, I think the epilogue is a nice touch, personally.
And that's totally fair.
Yeah, but I love the conclusion of Snape's character.
Oh my God, yes.
Super sad.
Very, very, very well done redemption story.
Yeah, and Alan Rickman's performance, fantastic. And and you can kind of go back and rewatch Harry Potter, knowing how the story ends and knowing whose side he's really on. And it still works, and you can see it in his performance even. It's really, really quite fascinating.
Yeah, it truly is. And even in that sequence, they really go back and show you like performances that he gave in those other movies, and kind of like, in case you forgot, this is kind of what he was doing in the background.
Yeah. And it was really fascinating to see very sad stuff there. Yeah, no, Deathly Hallows Part 2 was awesome.
I do want to say one last thing before we give grades.
Yes, go ahead.
Deathly Hallows Part 1 definitely has one of my favorite sequences in movies, and I believe King Arthur does it as well, when they're just like running through, there's no score, and they're like blasting their wands at them and like trying to capture them. And that whole like chase sequence I thought was well done. No, it was Sherlock Holmes that did that. I think it's Game of Shadows when they're running through the woods and they're getting shot at.
Yeah.
I love that sequence. No score, nothing. It feels real. Like it feels like that there's real stakes there. And then Dobby dying. I feel like it's a crime if we don't bring that up. That was so sad. That was so incredibly sad. I thought Dobby was annoying as hell. Whenever he was first shown, I can't remember.
Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, it was Chamber of Secrets. I thought he was super annoying there, and then they brought him back for Deathly Hallows Part 1, and my God, what a cool character he was. And they just... Yeah. It was cool how he died, I will say. How Bellatrix threw the knife and like that, how you discover that it went through the teleportation thing with them. Yeah. I thought that was super well done, and I almost cried for Dobby. Yeah. That was very, very sad. But Dobby did die a free elf.
It's because Part 1 is an absolute fantastic movie.
Fucking no.
And reaches new heights of emotional depth within the Harry Potter franchise.
Interesting. But I think because of that emotional, slow movie, you're able to have Deathly Hallows Part 2, where it is one long action movie where things happen in between. They're still like running around the battle and like running around the castle, and that movie, I agree, only works because of the way Deathly Hallows Part 1 was made. I just found it very boring.
I see you, but I don't think of Deathly Hallows Part 1 as just a setup movie. I think it is a setup movie, undoubtedly, but I think of it as a standalone great movie in the franchise also.
Okay.
Yes.
That is fair.
So we finally reached the end. We're not going to do Fantastic Beasts. Ryan.
Yes.
Give me your official Harry Potter... Well, give me grades for Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 first, and then we'll give your rankings of all the Harry Potter films.
So Deathly Hallows Part 1 comes in at 3.5 stars out of 5. So a little above average.
Okay.
And Deathly Hallows Part 2 gets 4 stars. Would have been a 5-star with that stupid fucking epilogue. But
I think your grading system's weird. I'll say it.
I think your beard's weird.
No, but okay, cool. All right. Now I give Deathly Hallows Part 1 an A and Part 2 an A+.
Okay.
So, give me your ranking. Best to worst.
Oh boy, let's look at all these Harry Potter movies, because I did not make a list coming prepared for this.
Here, mine will be off the top of my head too. Do you want me to do mine?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Best to worst.
Yes.
Best Prisoner of Azkaban.
Wow.
Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Okay.
Order of the Phoenix. Deathly Hallows Part 1,
Okay.
Goblet of Fire,
Mm-hmm.
Half-Blood Prince, Original, Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets. I think that's all
Okay.
of them. Yeah.
I think you're a little wacky with some of your
No,
picks, and you can see that on my face.
Yeah. No, but that's how I personally rank the franchise.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yes. So give me your shit.
Number 1, Half-Blood Prince.
God, you and Nick and Kyler all feel
My
the fucking same way.
God, what a fantastic movie.
You guys are so whack.
I would say Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows Part 2,
Okay.
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay.
And then we have Order of the Phoenix, Goblet of Fire, the original Harry Potter, and the Philosopher's Stone. If you want to be real technical.
Yeah.
And then Chamber of Secrets last.
Interesting.
Very.
Yeah. But
Well, we definitely disagreed, which is very fun. Very fun for argument's
always
sakes.
fun. But also, first time ever watching Harry Potter, was it an overall satisfying experience?
Overall, yes. I will say, though, if I were just to pop on a Harry Potter movie right now on TV without looking at the title, it would confuse me a little bit because, like, it seems like once they get older, it all seems like one long movie. Like, I would say from, like, Order of Phoenix to the end, it seems like they all just seem like one movie, which I don't know if that was the intention behind it. But overall, very satisfied with this franchise. I do not love it as much as some of the other fans may love it, but
there's some diehard Potterheads
absolutely,
out there.
and you know what? More power to you.
Yeah,
Absolutely more power to you. But I can definitely say I appreciate this film. I appreciate the films. I appreciate everything, all the time and effort that went into making these, and a very enjoyable franchise. For anyone who hasn't seen the Harry Potter franchise, please do yourself a favor and watch them all the way through. It is very, very, very wonderful to see the payoff 8 movies in.
And now when you go to Universal, it'll hit different.
It will, absolutely. And it's funny because thinking about Diagon Alley, and then when it was first shown in the movies, I was like, God damn, that's like, that is spot on. That is spot on.
Yep.
It is nuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now you can know why all those fans were happy when they went and saw it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. But I think that's all we have for